Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the following video is my first PC build. Please be gentle, it's my first time. I will try and show you all the box opening, to the parts I use and tools, to the empty mid-tower PC case, to a mess of cables, to the final product. Couple of tips: definitely have a spacious table dedicated just for your build. There will be screws, cables, and manuals all around and you don't want to misplace anything. Also, if this is your first build and you have another computer or laptop at your disposal, download your Windows 11 software to a drive because it's a big file and may take some time depending on your connection speeds. I didn't want to turn this PC build into a movie, so I divided the parts descriptions into a separate video, linked below. Spoiler alert, I wouldn't be making this video if I failed, but it definitely wasn't easy, that's for sure. There was some slight hiccups, nothing crazy though. Okay, let's begin this journey. For tools, I went with a set of Phillips tip screwdrivers plus additional tips in case, pliers, couple magnet trays to catch screws, a headlamp, and box cutting tools such as scissors or blades will do. Having the right tool makes the job a lot easier, trust me. So as you can see, I went with this Montech mid-tower PC case, color frost white, to make the insides pop. I love the fact that this model had the power reset and LED buttons on the top, as well as two USB 3.2s and one USB Type-C connection, and has your mic and headphone inputs as well. Has a tempered glass side to see the interior parts and hardware, 3 ARGB intake fans in the front, and one exhaust fan in the back. All four fans are PWM, meaning it helps increase the lifespan, noise reduction, and helps regulate the temp for your PC to operate at cool temperatures and prevent overheating. It has a metal case, clean smooth finish. I will not add this to the parts video because you can choose your own model, color, size, and shape. I had a budget, so I was looking for an affordable, decent case that was compatible with the parts I purchased and made sure everything was going to fit beforehand. The front mesh panel is also removable for easy maintenance. The instructions manual and hardware box was inside the case with zip ties provided for cable management. I skipped the parts of me removing the panels to prevent damage or scuffs made on either. To remove the left and right panels of the case was easy. Two thumb screws on the back of each side and they were out. Please be careful on removing the tempered glass and set it aside away from your work area as you will not need it till your build is done. The inside of the case has nice cutout pockets and compartments to keep your cables and wires hidden and organized. I went with the Asus Prime Z790V AX Intel AGA 1700 ATX motherboard for my build. Now let me get my handy dandy knife on deck and swipe. Here we go. It's Christmas everywhere for me. Let's see what we got. Okay, we got the Wi-Fi antenna on my left here, which I missed. We got the motherboard sitting secure and very well packaged. Let's put that over there to see what other goodies we got. And there goes the Wi-Fi antenna. LOL. I noticed afterwards though. Here's the I/O panel shield. We will use this manual as a reference guide, so keep this manual close and safe like that Bible in your nightstand. We got a set of two SATA cables here. And two sets of M2 screws, for which, if I'm not mistaken, will be to lock in your SSD to your motherboard. Lastly, I apologize, the Wi-Fi antenna with its stand didn't make its cut. Going to put everything back in its box because they tend to grow legs and walk away when I need them most, like when I push a whole squad solo waiting for my teammates in Warzone. Next, we will take the motherboard out with care. Take your time. Board looks clean, no components out of place. Definitely inspect for any damages now before you continue. There won't be any turning back. Be very thorough. You don't want to be 3/4 of the way into your build and realize something's out of whack and you gotta run back to the store to exchange your board. Do your homework and make sure it fits in the case that you chose. We will definitely start with the CPU first to get out the way so we can put the cooling fans afterwards. Here is the brain to this operation. The Intel Core i9 12900K Alder Lake 16 core LGA 1700 boxed processor. Now, I learned that if one day you decide to upgrade your processor, you can always resell it if it's still in decent working conditions. Also, the value adds if you keep all its original box and contents. So if that's your intent, keep this plastic insert where your CPU is resting. For me, this portion was the most delicate part of the build, and once again, inspect for any irregularities. This is where my headlamp came into play for extra coverage. Keep your CPU in its case so you're absolutely ready for install. Beware, ASUS will not cover any damages resulting in incorrect installation or removal or any other damages made from negligence by the user. In this part, you can refer to your motherboard manual on instruction installations. On my end, I had to hold and press down the load lever and pull out, then raise the cover gently. On my CPU, it has notches on the outsides and a small tiny triangle on only one of the corners to help with the orientation on how you have to place it into position on your board, which is basically idiot proof. Once again, I'm emphasizing you to locate your notches on the processor and position yourself properly before installing. If done correctly, it should fit very snug into place without any sort of restrictions. Now, close the load lever by doing the exact steps opposite of how you unlocked it. At this point, you should hear some sort of a click and that black cover comes out. And just like that, the brain surgery is complete on your PC, but still far from finished. Personally, I wanted to install the motherboard in its home in the PC case before moving forward. Next comes the I/O shield plate installation, which goes on the inside back portion of your PC case to the right of the exhaust fan. Also sits snug, no screws or adhesives required. Now you can set your motherboard into place by aligning the 6 screw holes. The screws provided should have come in your PC case hardware box. Once you're aligned with your I/O shield plate and the 6 screw holes, you can start securing your motherboard to your PC case. Using a magnetic tip Phillips screwdriver made this portion of the install easy peasy. First, I turn the screw itself counterclockwise to sit the screw in its place. Then go clockwise to snug them. If they're giving some sort of a problem, you may have cross-threaded. Remove the screw and try again. In somewhat of a cross pattern, alternate on tightening the screws one by one so the board sits evenly and you don't end up cracking your board if you fully tighten one side. No need to over tighten during this process, use your common sense. Now for the CPU air cooler with heatsink included, I went with this Thermalite Peerless Assassin 120 SE, a newer model. Here we have once again the hardware box and manual. This fan definitely lands on the larger side than its other competitors. Maybe I'll swap it out down the line. To be honest, at first glance, kind of reminds me of a souped up Ford hot rod engine. But this fan was also a part where I was able to keep my budget and still have a reliable product to get the job done. We got the 2 exhaust fans, non-RGB. For hardware included, we have different types of spacers, screws, 2 fan clips, a Y cable, and mounting brackets to accommodate the motherboard it pairs with, as well as a thermal paste for the CPU. So I had a little mini heart attack when I realized I had to put the support bracket behind the motherboard. Thankfully, when I turned the PC case around, there was an opening specifically designed for the cooling fan bracket. You can refer to your motherboard manual to see which bracket hardware you'll be using for this mount. Now we install the spaces provided. So if you know, you know. Unlike myself, I kept referring back and forth to the motherboard manual to avoid errors. I selected the proper mounting brackets, and with the same screws that came out the bag of spacers, you can secure your cooler bracket into place. I had to swap out the Phillips tip to a smaller one because of the screw size to prevent myself from stripping the head. My fan came with its own thermal paste. If not, you will need to purchase this separately in order to set the heatsink to the CPU, if required by the manufacturer of your fan selected. Now, I did my own research on how much of the paste I should apply, and at the end of the day, the way I see it is if you add enough that the entire surface of your CPU is painted with it, you're fine. Obviously, you don't want it seeping all over your board. This paste is messy. Here is a small part which annoyed me, but it was my fault, of course. As I put in the heatsink, I noticed that I wouldn't be able to fit my RAM sticks into place. It was either I try and force it in and risk damaging the board, or go back a step to do it properly. It's all good, it's just two screws. Locate the grooves on your RAM sticks and match them to your board before install. There are tabs for each you need to push back first on the motherboard before installation. Don't be shy, give it a little oomph. Personally, I wanted to have 64 gigs of RAM to handle the tasks I wanted without any issues. I did apply a little more thermal paste afterwards. The heatsink compresses the paste to your CPU. Keep in mind and don't forget to peel off the sticker on the bottom of the heatsink before install. Here I am reinstalling the heatsink cooler. Obviously, make sure the tabs for the RAM sticks are pushed back in to hold them into place. Didn't realize my camera battery died in this process, but you will use the fan clips to secure your fans to the cooler. Make sure you install the fans in a way so that the air pushes out the PC. In my install, the fans are pushing the air upwards, so that the logo on the fan for me was facing downwards. Make sure you install the fans so that the cables are hidden but also accessible so you can wire them. Before I move on, I did want to wire the fans to the board. Now with the white cable provided, you can connect the two fans and then onto the slot shown on the motherboard. Next up to the podium, I went with the Samsung 2TB 990 EVO Plus for my internal solid state drive. It's crazy how far we have come, a long way from a huge hard drive for storage to a fraction of its size. Samsung does offer a pro version for hardcore gamers and video editors. I will give my version a test drive in the meantime. This install went fairly smooth. Once again, align the notches on your SSD to your board. It pops in at an angle at first, no need to worry. Using the hardware provided by my Asus motherboard to secure it, you can gently press the drive down and screw it into place. For some reason, the first set of M2 screws I used didn't fully sit the SSD to the board. I ended up using the second bag of screws, no problem. Maybe it was for SSDs that require a heatsink most likely. As for mine, I did some research and it didn't require one. Now for the crown jewel, or as I put it, the heart of the PC, here's the GPU. I went with the Asus NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 overclocked dual fan 12 gigs. There are most definitely higher grade GPUs after this one. The NVIDIA RTX 5090 and RTX 5080 just recently came out. I wasn't trying to break the bank on this first run. Plan ahead on what tasks you are looking to do with your PC to match your GPU needs. Here we have a shiny piece of cardboard. a nice thank you card, you're welcome, the manual of course, many different languages. No hardware provided, since it should slip right into its dedicated slot in your motherboard. Let's not forget to peel off the protective film on the three sides of the GPU. You don't want this film melting inside your PC. After that, you will need to remove the expansion slot covers once you align yourself to the slot in your motherboard. On mine, I had to remove a total of 2 slot covers. Once that's done, just pop this bad boy into place till you hear a click. And the GPU tabs on the left should sit flush so you can use the same 2 screws from the slot cover and secure it into place. Save the expansion slot covers for future use just in case. Now, for the device that will give all the juice required for all the parts in my PC, I went with the MSI A750GL 750 watts 80 plus gold ATI fully modular power supply. Included was a manual, mounting screws to your case, its power cords, and all the connectors you'll need to complete your install. Let me start by saying,
it was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
a little part of me was saying, what did I get myself into? Apart from the PC case wire connections, I had all these connectors from the power supply that needed a home. I was already debating on packing it up and taking it back to Micro Center to finish my build. A couple of my brothers helped me out big time at this point. As a first time PC builder, didn't realize the power supply comes with more than enough connectors for your build. So I didn't need every single hanging out the supply. Thank God for fully modular. So I reset myself, unplugged everything from the supply and went one by one. At least the cables had come with a nice zip bag. Using the 4 screws that came with the supply, you secure it onto your PC case with the fan facing downwards as you want the air pushed out. To supply itself, I started with connecting the 24 pin for the motherboard, which was self-explanatory, since there's only one. The 8 pin connector for the CPU, another 8 pin by 6 plus 2 pin connector for my GPU, and the SATA connector for the PC case. We're in the home stretch, I promise. Started with the GPU. I connected the end with the 6 plus 2 pins to my GPU using the cutout closest. Pull back the remaining slack into the compartment below. Next, connected the motherboard to the power supply, and that'll be the ATX 24 pin end. Now for the CPU, I didn't show the install because it was a tight spot and you wouldn't be able to see me do it regardless. Connect the CPU 8 pin connector here. The yellow color coded connector is for a more powerful gaming cards, which didn't apply to mine, so I removed it shortly after. For the wires coming out of your PC case, starting from bottom left, we have the HD audio. To the right is your PC fan connector to the fan header. The small pin connector reference diagram you'll find in the motherboard manual. They'll be for your power button itself and their lights with the grounds. If they don't fit, don't force them. They are very delicate and you don't want to snap or bend any out. Here's the GPU connection close up. The bigger connector here will be for your USB 3.2 Type A and the smaller one for your USB 3.2 Type C. The last one will be for the addressable Gen 2 header for the fan LEDs. And that'll be all for the motherboard connectors to the PC case. Real quick, as for my budget, I would say hit it right in the nail at about $12.50 with tax for this PC build. Tax rate varies by state, and that's why PC case included. Also, I did get the 2-year replacement plan for the GPU only at $34.99. What wasn't included in this number was the mouse, keyboard, speakers, mic, and PC monitor. I'm not planning to prioritize my PC for gaming, more into video editing and business purposes. As for my old laptop, it's probably getting close to 15 years, so it was time. Let's not forget to connect the last SATA cable coming out your power supply to the SATA connector to the PC case. Now finally for power supply cord, and we are ready. Okay, here we go. What the all fans blowing? Check. All LED and RGB lights operational? Check. So I did not plug in my Wi-Fi antenna since I have an Ethernet directly connected to my PC. If not, connect your Wi-Fi antenna to the ports in the back of your PC as shown. Now it's time to plug in your flash drive to the PC to start your Windows 11 installation. I will post a link below on where I purchased mine for the low, as well as all the links to the parts I used in this build. Moving on, you will go to ASUS website to download and install the drivers needed and other programs for your motherboard. You can now close your PC case once fully satisfied with the two panels you set aside in the beginning by tightening the two thumb screws on the back of each panel. Be careful with the tempered glass panel. In conclusion, couple of challenges I will say was this being my first time navigating in this field. Also, finding the right time since I have a 2-year-old with sticky fingers who keeps me very busy. So the best time for me was when everyone was asleep. While editing this video made it somewhat easier since I was able to play Blue's Clues and Blippi and my video editing software on my screen at the same time with my son on my lap. Big shout out to my brothers who I most definitely couldn't have done without, Galo, Louie, and Migs. Shout out to Micro Center, the guys there played a huge role in helping me choosing the right parts for my build. All I gotta say is not bad for a plumber. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.